Hello, friends and colleagues. This is Ricardo Ferraris, and you are here listening to the Think Catalyst podcast. I am here with my business partner, Vivek and we usually talk about a lot of the things about advertising and media that not normally are talked about. So here's another interesting episode of our podcast. Vivek, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm good. Ready to throw bombs in this podcast because this one's going to be controversial. But having said that, it is also vital to start talking about this. I don't think the industry can continue to turn a blind eye to this issue for much longer.
Absolutely. Just a reminder, folks, Vivek and I are two advertising professionals. We've both worked at agencies. Vivek has also worked at on the client side earlier on in his career. And so we're here to just offer our wisdom, knowledge, and experience for really the benefit of agencies as well as advertisers. And in this case, this podcast in particular is really aimed at advertisers. I mean, agencies will certainly be interested in hearing about it, but advertisers should listen up and should consider some of the thoughts and recommendations that we put forward. Huh, Vivek?
Agreed. Especially advertisers that are not really very happy with the performance that they're getting from their agencies, or advertisers whose brands are not growing quite as fast as they would like them to grow.
Well, when advertisers say that their agency isn't working well, you need to go and find out what the root causes are around that, and what is happening and why it's happening. And the elephant in the room is, in this case, for many cases, compensation. So if you're not paying your agency properly, you're going to have to know that you're probably not going to get the best talent, the most attention, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to talk about that today. And the title of today's episode is something that we've heard before. You pay peanuts and you get monkeys. So really, this is all about helping and giving advertisers an idea of what they should think about in terms of agency compensation.
Absolutely. I think that that phrase captures the drama of the situation 100%. And what we're going to talk about here are thought starters, things that you want to think about, things that you want to discuss with your agency in an open manner, because what we want to come to is something that works for everyone. Because if it works for you but doesn't work for the other side, it's not going to work in the long term. So we're looking for win-win.
Compensation, Vivek, is probably one of the biggest issues in the advertising and media agency business today. Okay. Over the last 10, 15 years, we've seen a significant effort to just reduce and negotiate down fees for agency, media, digital, and creative agencies. And, while I think it's important to pay a fair price and to gauge what a fair price is, um, the brutal reduction in fees that has happened in the business in the end ends up hurting your business as an advertiser, as a brand, and you're not going to get the best talent and you're not going to get the best service from your agency. So we're going to go and talk a little bit about what some of these thought starters, as you said, as we should consider, and comment on these and allow you advertisers to think a little bit more about how you want to approach the next session of compensation negotiations with your agency.
I just add one thing. I think the whole compensation discussion has been going on probably now for 20 to 25 years.
Mhm.
I think over the last 5 to 10 years, it's just become so much more important and urgent because agencies have basically cut all that they can cut. There is no more flab to cut out, and now whatever reductions they do, whatever they're forced to do because advertisers will only pay lower fees, is now seriously affecting the quality of the product they put forward. So I think if we haven't gotten to the inflection point, we're very close to getting there, and we really need to do something about it.
The current model, Vivek, is centered around FTEs, buying hours and buying staff and buying hours. But as we go deeper in understanding how this model works, it's actually flawed because it is not driven to provide incentives to the agencies to be more efficient or to sell a significant program. It's actually it actually works in reverse. Agencies have now made the whole process much more complicated and longer in order to bill more hours almost, if you want to think about it that way. So we have some thoughts about compensation models here that we thought we'd share with you. But I don't know if you want to comment anything else about the downside of the FTE model, Vivek.
Well, before making just a couple more comments about the FTEs, what I would say is um, everyone has to be cognizant of the fact that if you have the wrong agency or an underperforming agency as a steward of your marketing budget, you're putting your whole marketing budget in jeopardy.
Mhm.
It's like having a really state-of-the-art plane and a crappy pilot. I mean, you're just not going to get the benefits of all the technology and all the capabilities that the plane has. So that is an important thought. So advertisers need to think about what they spend on the agency as an integral part of their marketing budget and as an investment in getting that marketing budget to perform as as well as possible, getting the most ROI out of your marketing money. Having said that, just a couple of things that I wanted to say about the FT model. I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan of it, and the first reason is because it equalizes talent. Um, so uh, let's use just one creative FTE as an example, and let's assume that that one creative FTE is a creative director. There is a big difference between having Dave Droga or Washington Oliveto as your creative director than there is in just having a random run of the mill, just a guy creative director.
Right.
Talent matters and it's different. And what we are looking for is the really talented people, and those people will be rewarded accordingly. So you really can't talk in terms of man hours. You need to talk in terms of talent. Um, and the other thing that I struggle with the FTE model is that it focuses on inputs. It focuses on the hours you're going to spend doing something versus the actual quality of the output.
Yeah.
So what we should be looking for is the next big idea, and we should be rewarding the next big idea rather than fiddling around with how many hours it takes to manufacture it. So that is, I think, a deadly flaw of the FTE model that can't be fixed.
Advertisers should focus on what they want to accomplish. And, what is an idea that doubles your business cost, Vivek? What is it worth?
What would you be willing to pay for it?
What would you be willing to
Is
pay?
the
I
question.
would,
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
if I had an agency working for me that would help me double the size of my business in the next 2 years, I would pay them nicely. let me tell you, and keep them with me and hope that they don't go work for my competition.
It's all about building the top line. It's that is the great value of an agency.
Hmm.
It can help you build the top line.
Hmm.
Whatever savings you can squeeze out of them, it's not going to help your bottom line much.
How about strengthening the partnership with an agency by offering them an incentive when they grow the business?
That's always good. That's
Yeah.
always good.
I remember that. I remember when we used to get bonus checks from clients because their business actually grew. That's,
Sure.
very much part of history these days. It isn't happening as much. And I think advertisers should really consider rewarding their agencies for doing great work. That's what you want them to do anyways.
Well, I think that's going to be one of the thought starters we're going to talk about.
Mm,
So,
mm.
why don't we get started with the thought starters?
Go for it.
Let's
Once
throw
you
some bombs.
once you
So,
put number one on the table there.
yeah, so here is a really different way of thinking about the services of an agency. So maybe what advertisers should think about is buying not services from an agency, but rather buying products from an agency. What do I mean by this? I need to launch a new brand and I go to an agency and I say, I need you to sell me a product called Launch Program for New Brand. And here are the elements that are built into that program. I'm just making it up, a couple of commercials, social media, a launch event, and a couple of other things. And this package has a fixed price.
Mhm.
So I don't really mess around with how the agency is going to deliver it, how many people are going to work on the account. None of that. That is the agency's problem. I will hold them accountable based on the results of the product that I'm buying.
Right.
Um,
Focus on the
and
objective, focus on the outcome. Get
focus
them
on
to
the
focus
outcome.
on the outcome and what is necessary to reach that outcome.
And stop with the micromanaging of agency hours
Mhm.
and agency resources. That really doesn't help the agency and it doesn't help you get the sort of result that you want from the agency.
Yeah.
It's
We've
much easier
seen
to administer.
we've seen some agencies play around with this approach where they sell a whole program. This launch program, this maintenance program campaign will cost you X, without going into the details, without needing to know that the account executive or the creative director is going to spend 3 hours on the brief of the campaign, et cetera. That doesn't matter. That's not the
Doesn't
important
matter.
thing. That's not the important thing. The important thing is that you come out, the client has actually not one, maybe a number of interesting, really ideas to work with and to consider as they, go and implement a campaign.
And
So,
the other benefit of considering this approach is that it'll help you separate one agency from the other
yeah,
because not every agency is selling the same product.
yeah,
So just for illustration's sake, one launch program by agency X might be TV centric,
yeah,
and another launch program might be totally digital.
yeah,
I'm not saying one's better than the other, but at least they're different, and the advertiser can choose which one he wants to buy.
yeah.
Um, so in an industry that's urgently requiring differentiated products, this is one way to differentiate them.
Yeah. I'll go to number two. I'm a fan of this one because actually we had this compensation scheme with Procter and Gamble when I was at Gray Advertising for some time. I don't think that they're doing this anymore. And now there's a bit more tightening on agency compensation from that client. But this was a scheme that worked, I think, very, very well, and it was very oriented on driving the result and on driving an incentive, and that is pay your agency a percent of your net sales. i.e., your sales grow, the agency compensation will grow as a result of that. Your sales go down, advertiser, your agency compensation will go down. It just makes the agency a complete partner with the advertiser in terms of delivering the results. And I thought that was a great compensation system. I think it should be considered more and more because it just focuses on that. It focuses everyone on achieving the result.
It's very simple to administer. Um, and the other thing, and my agency friends will probably not like me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyhow. The truth of the matter is that a lot of people in the agency are not as focused on the business results of the client as they should be.
Mm.
They're passionate about other things. But once you link the agency's compensation and hence their own compensation to hitting the advertiser's sales goals, all of a sudden you get everyone to focus in on the
Yeah,
same thing because it's in their interest
yeah.
to focus in on it.
The upside for
Um,
the agency is unlimited too, by the way, which is fantastic. I mean,
as it should be, as
yeah,
it should be.
right.
If an agency has upside, they'll invest in your business. They'll
Yeah,
bring you initiatives. They'll pay for talent. Um, a lot of good things will happen if they see that they can grow with you, and
yeah,
there's no ceiling to the growth.
yeah. And they'll invest more in your business. They'll
Oh,
invest more.
sure,
The agency will bring more to the table and more capabilities for your business if they see that you're going to reward them
of
for
course.
growing their business. So, one thing
You
to
know,
mention here, Vivek, is it does mandate that the advertiser is completely transparent with the agency as it relates to the sales results. Okay. Easier to track with public companies because they have to announce their results in terms of sales, share price, share of market, etc. But it does mandate to have a very transparent, open, and reliable system of measuring sales and sharing that with the agency.
well, you could probably involve the auditors, the Price Waterhouses of the world, to be an independent intermediary to make sure that the numbers are all um, correct. Uh,
Mhm.
I just want to make one more point
Mm,
about this idea of paying based on net sales. If I'm an agency and I have one client that's giving me the possibility of having unlimited upside, and another client that basically has my hands tied in terms of FTEs, and I really cannot earn any more than the number of hours I sell to that client, where am I going to focus my resources as a business?
mhm,
I'm going to focus on the client that gives me upside. Um, it's just natural, and we're talking like businessmen. Advertisers sometimes forget that agencies are businesses as well and respond to business incentives. This is the most basic business incentive of all. I
no doubt,
focus my resources on the areas where I can get growth.
no doubt.
Iron law of business.
You want to go with the third consideration, Vivek?
Yeah. This is another
Controversial
out of
one.
the box one. This so when you buy services from an agency, you're buying a mishmash of stuff. You're buying some things that are fairly mechanical, and other things that are higher level, strategic, harder to do, and have more impact on the business. So this thought starter is to consider separating the mechanical stuff, the easy to cost out with man hour stuff, and separate that from the high value stuff and price things differently. So in theory, you would have a fee for, and I'm going to use community management, which seems to be something that can be managed fairly mechanically. But then the thought of developing the big idea, that's a separate project. That has a separate price altogether. And that way, you can more fairly adjudicate where your money is going instead of having it all hidden in FTEs and you don't know what part of the FTEs are actually doing the big stuff and what
Mhm.
part are doing the mechanical stuff.
Very important, but it is different. It is very different, isn't it? I
It's
mean,
completely different, but it's more transparent, and I think when you know what you're paying for, it's easier to make a decision on how much you want to pay,
yeah.
how big you want to go. It's just more above board.
I think AI and technology is going to help us manage those, processes that are fairly standard going forward. I don't think that AI or technology will ever replace creativity and the power of developing big creative ideas. So if, as an advertiser, you can invest on your creative team and the people who bring, big ideas to and contribute big ideas to your business, that's where you should be paying, a more premium price or a higher price. And again, a more standard price or price that, is not doesn't need to have, a high value in terms of other standard services and processes. Simple.
Yep.
I wanted to talk. The next point is something that is very dear to me as well, and for you as well, and that is, you know, I own an Acura. An Acura is a car that will get you from point A to point B. It's got four wheels, it's got a steering wheel, but it's a premium automobile. Okay. I also happen to own a Honda CRV, which has four wheels, gets me from point A to B, has a steering wheel, the whole thing. Only the Acura cost 40% more than a Honda. Why? Because it is a premium product. It is sold as a premium product. So some agencies present themselves as being delivering a premium service. So here's the thought. Pay your agency what the agency thinks is worth. Okay. And that is measured or valued on a number of different levels. Either they have very famous creatives working in the agency, or the agency has won accolades and a lot of lions, or they're usually the best agencies are the ones for famous campaigns that you see on the street, on air, and that, move business. And so if an agency is asking you to pay them X, you may think it's high, but is it really worth it? And if you are wanting to buy a premium service, a premium product, and ultimately a premium campaign that will deliver premium business results, then it's all worth it. What do you think, Vivek?
I agree 100%. I love the car analogy. First of all,
I happen to
because
have a Honda and an Acura, and made from the same manufacturer, probably cost the same to make, but I'm paying much more for my other car.
but I think the car analogy helps illustrate
Mm,
that you can't get Mercedes performance for the price of a Corolla, with all
mhm.
due respect to
Sure,
Toyota.
absolutely.
It's just you can't do it, right?
Right,
So asking a Toyota to be as luxurious as a Mercedes is a fool's errand. Let's not even waste time
right.
on that. So I think that helps the advertiser thinking about this helps the advertiser clarify exactly what he needs and buy, quote unquote, exactly what he needs. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, and I'm going to go back to this again and again, this is a way for some differentiation to be developed within the agency market. No, not all agencies can do everything.
Yep.
Some are Acuras and some are Hondas.
Yep. And that's
And
fine.
and there's nothing wrong with it. There's a
Sure.
market for Acuras and there's market for Hondas. Let's try to match the buyer and the seller and the needs, and everything will work better and be more harmonious.
I would highly encourage marketing and procurement. I think procurement has an important role here, but I would encourage marketing and procurement to work together to try to identify what the real value is of the agency that they're thinking of hiring. If you want to hire an agency that is hot, that is doing very well, that has famous campaigns, expect to pay more and be willing to pay more. You will get a product that is in line with what they want to do, with their purpose, with their uh, positioning and approach to the market. So again, if it's going to grow your sales, if it's going to grow your business, my friends, you guys you'll be in hog heaven. You'll be in hog heaven. So,
That's and I would also encourage agencies
mm,
to look at themselves in the mirror and figure out, are you a Mercedes or are you a Toyota? And market yourselves accordingly.
great point.
Because you can't fool people into thinking you're something you're not. And maybe now that we're talking about this, maybe this lack of differentiation is one of the drivers of relationships being so short-lived,
Sure.
because you're selling yourself and you're being purchased
Yep.
as something that you're not. And shortly thereafter, it becomes clear that you can't deliver what was promised, and the relationship will end. So,
I would argue one more point, Vivek. Any agencies that offer their services for very low or cheap, I would ask myself why. It's one of those, it's almost too good to be true type of things. They usually don't turn out to be good relationships. There's a lot of junk right now on the air and on the street, and you wonder why. Because if it's just about putting any piece of work out there, forget it. You want to focus and work on and commit yourself to doing something that hopefully is breakthrough, will break category norms, and really deliver on your business results.
well, an agency that will work for practically nothing is also sending a very strong signal that it's a yes man.
Yeah, I'm
So what
desperate.
you're actually doing is turning the brand manager into the creative director, into the strategy director. It's sort of it's sort of an analog version of ChatGPT. Draw me
Absolutely.
an image of X, and your agency will run and they'll draw you an image of X. Not going to build your business. It's not going to work. Brand managers are really, really bad creative directors.
Yeah.
I I was one, I can tell you. So
No,
it's
but
true.
it's, everyone should be doing what they should be doing and not what they don't know what to do. So
To be fair, creative directors are really bad brand
they're
managers as well. So I
terrible,
mean, so
terrible, and
to each his own.
terrible CEOs, by the way. And they're not really necessarily good agency CEOs either.
Okay,
I'll say
there we
this.
go.
I'll throw it out there. I love creative directors. I think they were my best partners, right? But there's a position for them and there's a position for other people in the business.
We should do a
And
podcast on that. That'll be a fun
we
podcast.
will, we will. Final point, and this one is controversial because this is where the industry is trending right now, and it's actually causing uh again, output of poor work, of shorter agency relationships, of CMOs being fired because they're not getting to their results. Vivek, you want to talk about AOR versus project based?
So we live in a world where everything is moving to project-based work, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So our thought-provoking suggestion is instead of doing project work, hire an agency as an agency of record
Mm-hmm.
and gasp, pay them generously.
Mm-hmm.
Don't squeeze them. If they ask for 100, offer them 110. Surprise the hell out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Make it easy for them to focus exclusively on your business with the best talent, develop a relationship with you,
Yeah,
understand your business, don't make the same mistakes twice, and stick with that for a while. And, it might actually work.
yeah, for
It did
sure.
work for many years, by the way.
Yeah.
It did work.
When the relationship is tied down that way and is committed to a longer term, there's a number of very positive things that happen out of that. There's a more in-depth understanding of the business. There is a learning curve that continues to build on. You may make some mistakes, but in the end, it's all about working together. You learn fast when you also fail fast. Um, but if you try to do, that one shot, sniper shot, that it may not turn out, and then you're on to the next agency and you're committing the same mistake, and there's no learning curve with the new agency. There's no continuity. Those things actually count on the business. And AOR assignments, AOR compensation agreements contribute significantly to making sure that team comes together, that continuity stays, that learning curve is on a positive trend. I'm a big fan of AOR assignments. Project based is just a promise. It's a one shot. And interestingly enough, just a little side comment there, the campaign that usually wins in a pitch is not usually the campaign that goes on air after the agency is assigned the business. You do have to work through a number of campaigns and a number of pieces of work to really get into a groove, understanding the business and really delivering on potentially eventually what would be a big idea. If you're just going to shop for a big idea, there's there's huge risk involved with that.
Very
So,
hard to find. Let
mm,
me make one final argument, and I'm speaking to our advertiser friends, and I'd like to speak with them as businessmen.
mm,
Again, if I am an agency and I'm entering into a long-term contract with you, with a level of security about my revenue, I can afford to invest. I can afford to maybe take a loss here and there because I know the business is going to be with me for a while. If I don't have that security, if you tell me from day one, you know, I don't want a long-term relationship and I could take this business away from you in 3 months, or I'm going to work project by project. And every single project is life and death because you could completely lose my business from one day to the other. My reaction as a business person is, well, you know what? If this is a project, I'm going to make as much money as I can on this project because I don't know if I'm going to have a project tomorrow. I'm certainly not going to operate at break even on this project without knowing that I have a project tomorrow.
sure.
So what you're doing is when you work by project, you're forcing the agency to think about themselves, their own business, and their own profit
And survival.
and survival. And
Right.
so those are exactly the wrong
Yeah, it
incentives.
is.
You
Right.
want an agency, hey, don't worry about your business. You're fine. Worry about my business.
Yeah.
That only comes with some level of security. Otherwise, it'll never come.
Tied to that, and just building on what you're saying, the best talent doesn't necessarily want to work on a project basis. They want to work on a project. They want to work on a business that's going to allow them to work with clients and build a business long term. The best talent is not necessarily the talent that works to work on a freelance basis. No disrespect to freelancers, by the way, because there's a lot of great ones out there and they want to work that way. But usually the talent that you want, not just on this campaign, but on the next campaigns, is the best talent. And it's the talent that you want to reassure that you, advertiser, are going to give them the next project and not necessarily, uh, in between lines, threaten them to not give them any more work after this.
Agency people are just like advertisers. They want job security. They want to be compensated fairly. Uh, they want to have a job. They want
Mhm.
to pay for their kids' college or buy a house, just like everyone else. Um, and working on a per project basis makes that extremely difficult.
And they would rather work with a CMO or advertiser that is very passionate about advertising and really believes in it as well. They will spend great creative talent, strategic talent, account talent. The agency talent will spend much more time on your brief if they know that the advertiser is passionate, the advertiser wants to do great work, the advertiser is a big believer in advertising to transform their business. So very simple.
But
You can get that with an
but talk
AR
is cheap.
assignment. Yeah.
Talk is cheap. You can say you believe it, but unless you're actually committing and paying for it, it's just talk.
Put your money where your mouth is, right?
Put your money where your mouth is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So those are the five thought starters. Let me just quickly recap them for you. So one, buy products or buy campaigns instead of just services. Focus on looking forward to delivering an end result to what you want and not just buying piecemeal what you think is needed to develop a campaign. One, two, think about paying your agency based on sales results. So a percentage of that will certainly be a great incentive for the agency to, again, focus on what your business results is and deliver against that and obviously grow with you. Four, Three, sorry, separate the mechanical services, which are much more low value versus the more high value premium services, which is the thinking, the strategy, obviously the creative ideas. When you think of that in those terms, you're really focusing on investing where you know you're going to get a much greater uh, talented group of people working on your business because that's what you want, right? Four, pay your agency what you think that they're worth. We talked about the analogy of the cars. If the agency is famous, if the agency is known for delivering big campaigns, driving business forward, they will probably ask you for a premium fee and go ahead, pay for it. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get a premium service. You're going to get premium thinking. You're going to get premium campaigns and ideally premium results as well. Okay. And finally, the last point that we just talked about is think about an AR assignment, long-term commitment, focus on growing a relationship versus project-based that doesn't give the agency any incentive to put the best talent or to commit the best thinking to your work. Just get the project out of the way. So that's a recap of the five thought starters. Vivek, you want to have any closing comments and summary on this?
Uh, we're not uh, particularly saying that one of these will work for everyone.
Right.
Maybe it will, but what we're trying to put on the table is the fact that what we have right now is not great. The FTE system is not great. It's not working for anyone. And it's way past time to start experimenting with some other models. Because as we said earlier in the podcast, we may be reaching the end of the road of the FTE models. And if we look at the levels of layoffs and financial struggles that the big holding companies are going through, pretty much all of them, that's a good indicator that this is not working.
And think about it, the agency fee and compensation is a relatively small percentage of your total marketing budget. If you're not paying your agency well and they're not delivering on your results, imagine all the wasted marketing and media budget that you have just implemented and is not delivering on the results. Huge, huge difference in terms of what that is about. If your agency is not working, marketers, advertisers, think about it. Compensation is probably a big component of that inability to deliver.
It's classic symptom, classic example of worrying about the cents and wasting the dollars.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We hope you found this topic useful. We are Think Catalyst, Ricardo and Vivek, consultants, ex-advertising folks and guys. We like to help the business. We like to help the sector. We're friends with everyone, and hopefully this latest episode will get advertisers to think a little bit more about how they compensate their agencies and value them in terms of what they do for them. Join us next week for another fantastic podcast. We've got some great guests coming up in the next couple of episodes. Vivek, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was fun.